Before I even got to Weber State as a student, I heard, don't take math from Weber. Go somewhere else, go to the ATC, take math from there and transfer your credits. 50% of the kids in math at Weber State don't even pass the class. Is that true? Is the undergraduate math program really failing its students? Or is it just that those of us that are bad at math think it is? I'm Dylan Allred. Let's go on campus.
I've heard that it's really bad and that people have a lot of problems trying to pass the classes and they don't get the help that they need.
I just think they need better teachers, maybe. Better teachers that sit down with the kids and help them more.
Well, I am not great at math to begin with, but I just didn't feel like I was getting great instruction and a lot of help, and yeah.
Well, I heard not to even come to the math program here at Weber State. And so I just went straight to Ace Replacer and had a fabulous experience.
No, I like it. 950 is really easy, but I'm afraid of not having a teacher there to help me in my harder math, so.
I heard that it sucks for my roommates, that it's hard to learn through technology and not through a teacher.
It's kind of hard not having a teacher teaching you something, like every time you go into class, and only having a teacher once a week for about 50 minutes. But it also poses its good things, because that means you can speed up or slow down according to your own pace, which means that you're kind of setting your own math class. So you learn as much as you want to, and your teachers are there for you to utilize, and if you're not utilizing them, then math could be a very hard thing. And they're also...
Tell me about that.
It's a little frustrating. It takes a lot of time. I'm not really good with online learning, and I feel like you have to do a lot of self-teaching.
And this week's Facebook question: how do you feel about Weber State University's developmental math program? Ginger said,
I refuse to return to Weber because of their poor math department.
Andrew said,
I chose to leave Weber State because of the math department. Fair enough?
Scott said,
awful. Accuplacer is a much better alternative.
Lauren said,
I won't set foot there.
Derek added,
as a Weber State graduate, I must admit, the math department at Weber State was a waste of time. I'm 98% sure.
Michael posted,
I think it's very telling that there is a successful for-profit company that's sole business plan is to help students test out of Weber State University's math program.
Chris said,
I plan on finishing through ATC. I've never participated in the whole hub thing, but it sounds like hell, and isn't what Lab Pros Hall was intended for.
I'm here today talking with Catherine Van Wagner. She's the director for the developmental math program. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Sure.
I'm doing this episode because I hear grumblings from students about, well, Weber's math department, blah, 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 especially the kids in the developmental courses, 950, 960, 1010. That's me, I'm in those classes.
It's
990 now? I've been here for a while.
5990.
And so I just wanted to ask you a few questions about some of the rumors that I've heard about the math department.
Okay.
Do you think that the math department has a bad reputation?
I think math in general has a bad reputation. And yeah, definitely. I just came here in February, and that was a part of the conversation when I started. Was someone I think said math does not have a happy face.
Like that?
Yeah, math at Weber State does not have a happy face, or something like that. So, yeah, definitely. It's not unusual, though.
How does Weber State's developmental math program compare to other schools in Utah?
In some ways, very similar, and in, I guess, one way different. So, the fact that there are a lot of students who need developmental math classes is typical across the state, across the country. Very, very common. The way math is taught here is has some differences. I'm not super familiar with all of the schools, but there's definitely a trend to going towards computerized instruction, and Weber State led the way in the state. And I think it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of thing. The term program is evidence that Weber State is a progressive school, is willing to innovate, is interested in student success. A lot of work and effort went into reevaluating how things are done and finding a different solution. And it was, what I'm trying to say. I just think it's a good indication of Weber State. The program structure, unfortunately, allowed the students too much flexibility, and they kind of took advantage of it to their detriment.
Right.
And so
I would know nothing about that.
So we're trying to change that.
How are you going to change that?
Well, we started this summer, implemented, changed the structure, so there was this idea of rollover, because it kind of was like it was people were like, oh, I can spend 2 semesters on this class.
Mm-hmm.
But it was meant to be that if you were the kind of student who needed extra time to learn, you could get extra time. But the majority of students shouldn't need 2 semesters to take this class. The majority of students should be able to do it in 1 semester.
Okay, so the students who register for the class overall, of the 100% that register in the class, what's the success rate there? Approximately.
Well, the success rate, I don't have numbers off the top of my head. The success rate is pretty good. The success rate is those who work through the whole semester. They pass at a pretty high rate. Unfortunately, so here's an example. Last fall in Math 1010, 25% of the students who were registered for Math 1010 never even started the program.
Wow. Why? Just because they were afraid of it, or?
That's a good question.
You have to ask them.
I would love to have a list of those names, and maybe we can do that. You know, there's always data that you can chase down if you've got the time and the resources.
Right.
But I don't know. I think some of it is because they were required to register because of the assessment and placement policy, but they didn't
Right.
really want to take the class, so they just registered for it.
How does the math department, and especially your department, feel about the Acer Placer program or a company that's just right
Yeah.
across the street here?
I've heard of it, but I really haven't had time to look into it since I've gotten here. I know that people aren't happy about it, but I don't know that much about
Like the faculty isn't happy about it?
Oh, just here and there I hear things about it. Actually, I don't hear that much from my faculty. It's more other administrators on campus.
Well, because it takes maybe a little money.
I did talk to them for a minute last spring when they were in the student center,
Mhm.
and I just asked, so how many students do you serve? And they said, oh, about 80 a semester, and I thought, I'm serving 4,000.
So it's a small percentage. Yeah.
I'm not worried, and certainly none of what we're doing is driven by money. So,
Right.
if it's serving those 80 people, great. I don't know if it is. I don't know how it's working.
Tell me more about some changes you see in the future for the developmental math program here at Weber State.
Okay, well, since I got here, we've already made a lot of changes, and we're trying to address those key concerns that students have had, like a feeling like they're left on their own to learn math. We are trying to help students understand they're not on their own. We've provided more help. We hired a new advisor who also is a learning strategist, so he's like an academic coach. So any student that's having trouble should go talk to him. His office is in the hub. We have more tutors in the hub now, and we're trying to send the message. One of our biggest problems is that students aren't asking for help. and they, we don't want them to be on their own. And you can look at the research of what's the best way to learn. The worst way to learn is to sit in a lecture class. The best way to learn is one-on-one instruction. And that's what we're providing. And we're just trying to help students to use the program to their success rather than kind of fight against it. Yeah, it's different, and yeah, we're not spoon-feeding you information, but people who are using the program the way it's meant to be used are being really successful.
Great.
So,
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me.
you're welcome.
Catherine Van Wagner, she's the head of the developmental math program. Drop by her office and ask her questions. Don't really do that.
No, really,
Really do that?
really do that.
Drop by. We're in building 4, 506B, which is in 506, not 506A. It was a thing. Don't worry about it.
I'm in the back.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Well, it seems to me like there was a time in the not too distant past that Weber State's undergraduate math program probably was failing its students. But come back, try it again. They're making a lot of changes, and they genuinely want to help you. Weber State is trying to lead the way in new technology to teach students. Be a part of that. And go in with a good attitude. Remember, math is fun.